Welcome back to Brass Tacks, where we dive into strategy, tactics, and tough decision making in gaming. Today, we're continuing our journey in This is the Police 2 with December 14. Let's go.
Tell me, Victor, tell me honestly, are you a human being or a robot? Huh? Right? Or are you sure? Have you checked? Because it seems to me you have a set of programmed commands instead of brains in your head. Ever consider showing a little bit of flexibility? Just a little bit, huh? Ever consider that selling butter and selling gasoline isn't the same thing? Well, listen. Listen to me, Victor. Listen to me a second before your tiny electrical brains run out of batteries. When you sell him butter, you sell him a delicious breakfast. A person can live without a delicious breakfast. Yes, most people in this fucking town haven't even heard of a delicious breakfast. When you sell him butter, he's in a position to bargain. Because if he doesn't have butter, he'll smear his toast with clay, and by God, I swear he will eat it with no less pleasure. But when you sell him gasoline, Victor, when you sell him gasoline, you sell him his business. You sell him the entire meaning of his existence. Because, Victor, if he doesn't have gasoline, he'll have to shut down his gas station. And if he closes his gas station, he won't have butter or toast on the table. And in fact, he won't even have a fucking table. Because his creditors will take away his whole fucking house. And a man needs a fucking house so that he can have a place to put his fucking table. You got the logic, right? Now see if you can digest it with your fucking electrodes or whatever you usually think with, and call me back when you come to an agreement on the price. Ah, you're already here. I'm sorry, Jack. It's a busy time of year. I gotta sit by the phone all day. I can call you Jack, right? Why am I asking? I'm already calling you Jack. Let's sit down. We could go to the bar, by the way. I'm waiting for a call, but I could.
It's fine here.
You sure? Well, as you like. That's what I love about Sharpwood. Even if I forget to put the beer in the refrigerator, it'll still be cold. Here, you can help yourself. Doesn't look like beer, does it?
Well, what is it? The infamous smelly soup?
You should try it. Go on. Try it. Don't be squeamish. Half of Sharpwood eats that soup every day. No one's dead yet. Not from the soup, anyway.
Now I see. Now I see why you'd say that anyone who lives on this soup would try to get out of here.
Well, yes, but most of them stay. What do you think keeps them here?
Family? Friends?
Friends? But there's nothing easier than making friends. When did you arrive in Sharpwood? About 10 weeks ago? Or was it 8? And look, you're already surrounded by friends. No, it's not friends. It's the enemies. Ask anyone in the city. Ask a poor man. Ask a rich man. Of course, if you can find a rich man. They all have them. Every one of them has a neighbor they can't stand. Well, how can you leave Sharpwood and allow your enemy to go on without you? So he could plant a cherry tree in your backyard? So he, not you, could buy drugs on discount? So he could grab a nice plot of land in the cemetery? No one can allow this. The enemy must be exhausted if it takes you your whole life. With the enemy, you need to fight to the last. Once you have an enemy, you're doomed. You can't think straight. Old Sheriff Wells was doomed. He couldn't stand drug dealers. I myself don't care for them, but Wells didn't count them as people at all, despised them more than murderers and rapists, and as soon as those fucking neckties appeared in the city, he knew right away that they were his enemies. Enemies which he must overcome, you see? And even if by some miracle he succeeded, what next? What other enemies would he have invented? And the performance we arranged for him that night? He had no reason to believe that there were ties hiding in that house. But one phone call, from this phone here, by the way, and he rushes off into the night to God knows where. You know what happened next. He threw himself into a hail of bullets. Got 2 young cops killed, too, though they had absolutely nothing to do with it. Sheriff Wells invented his enemies, and he paid for them dearly.
So the policeman had to pay for doing police work.
What? Jack, come on. I know we need the police. Of course we need them. There was a case here recently, a month before you got here, maybe less. A fellow named Rocco, he was a butcher here. His old mother Bertha went missing, and Bertha had either Alzheimer's or old age dementia, or is it the same thing? Anyway, poor Bertha always forgot everything, couldn't even recognize Rocco half the time, and then suddenly she disappeared somewhere. So, what did our Rocco decide? Our Rocco decided that his mother was kidnapped by Eves Menke, another local butcher, his competitor, so to speak. No, just think, a man finds his mother missing, his old sick mother who can't remember her way to the toilet, and the first idea that comes into his head, his competitor kidnapped her. He watched too many movies, I guess. So what did Rocco do? Rocco picked up the hammer, went to Eves Menke's house, cracked open his skull, then broke his brother's skull, then broke his father's skull, then went down to their basement shouting, "Mom, I've come to save you!" And the basement was empty. Of course it's fucking empty. And there he is, standing there. Goes back home, covered in blood, hammer in hand, and his mother is there, sitting in her armchair, quietly knitting. Walked around in the woods all day, then came back home. Doesn't even remember a thing about it. Now Rocco will be in prison for the rest of his life. But if he just called the police, if the cops had combed the forest looking for poor Bertha, nothing would have happened. So of course we need the police. Never imagine, Jack, that I think the police is my enemy. I don't invent enemies for myself. I won't repeat the old sheriff's mistakes, unlike the new sheriff.
What, you arranging a special performance for her too?
I could, of course, but what happens after that? Marino says that after Gail Greenberg's death, there's no first deputy in the department. So if the sheriff suddenly dies, anyone might take her place. And I do not need anyone. I need you.
I'm sorry?
You're working in the sheriff's department, unofficially, right? I think it's time to formalize your status. First deputy sheriff. It's a good start, huh?
Why would Lily formally appoint me as first deputy?
You're not listening to me at all, Jack. Lily invented an enemy for herself and will do anything if it means she can get even with her enemy. Believe me, run the ties out of Sharpwood and you'll get your post. She wouldn't think for a second.
I'm not sure she...
Just think, Jack, just think. The ties didn't just flood the city with drugs. Oh, no, that would not be enough. The ties killed her precious Sheriff Wells. Well, that's what she believes anyway. But would they stop at that? Oh, no. The ties killed Gail Greenberg. And was that enough? Not at all. Now the ties had also killed her champion, Captain Carter. As far as I know, Jack, you made sure poor Lily thought as much. You can be sure, Jack, hatred for her enemy has all but blinded our sheriff. Like her predecessor, like her predecessor's predecessor. Consider this a Sharpwood tradition.
Suppose she agrees. Although I do not really believe she will, then I'll still need to deliver and take out these ties.
Is that a problem? I thought you were an experienced cop.
I don't even know where their headquarters are.
But I do. I learned a lot from our distinguished young student, Arthur Sherman. The scholar couldn't be held in isolation without books. He traded all the valuable secrets of the insidious neckties for the Viscount de Bragelonne. Can you imagine?
Even if I can.
Oh, that must be Victor. Don't worry, Jack. She'll agree. You'll see. She'll agree without hesitation. Call me when you made the deal. Just don't leave it too long. Here, little souvenir from Freeburg. Hello. What? Why does he need so much? It doesn't matter how much he's willing to pay. It's physically impossible at that time. Last time we checked, 4 was more than due.
Ginny didn't come into work tomorrow. No, I'm not reading that. I'm just gonna say no. Not reading that, saying no. Not reading that, saying no. Not reading that, saying no. Not reading it, saying no. We'll assign H to that. Look at the man with the fire hose. Reckless endangerment at the Nastron Correctional Facility. A guard is forcing the prisoners to play Russian roulette. Okay. Negotiation. This should be good. Mr. Nash, things are going great at the theater. Here's your share, $87. Alright.
Code I.
Code I theft at Dead House. Body of the elderly Alan Cross has disappeared from the morgue. His funeral has been cancelled, and the family of the deceased man is horrified. Okay, Adkins, you're pretty dang smart, so go investigate that. Explosion at Jameson Hill. Zara Avramov claims that up on her second floor, something powerful exploded, sending glass everywhere. This happened when she went out to the porch for the morning newspaper. Mrs. Avramov is afraid that some robbers climb up onto the roof and use explosives to get in. I see. Well, I think that's a false alarm, because if it's an explosive, you would know for sure. You're not gonna be unsure about it. There are two prisoners in the yard. One of them is holding a revolver and he's ready to spin the drum. Behind him, a drunken guard with a rifle is directing the action. Come on, Greg, spin the drum. If you survive, you can walk right out of the prison gates as a free man. And if not, you'll be giving a free ticket to your friend. You ready? Okay, let's order the prisoners to throw down the revolver. The prisoner wanted to obey the cop, but the guard jabbed him with his rifle and barked, "Spin the drum or I'll shoot you in the head myself." Shoot the guard. Yeah, you have good shooting. Stockman, shoot him.
535 complete.
The cop shot the guard in the heart and the prisoners returned to their cells. Got some tobacco, whiskey. Let's finish up your stout. A grandfather shot him for people to stay away from him, yelling if anyone approaches him closer than 20 yards. Oh, yelling if they approach him closer than 20 yards. Yes, I'm gonna explode. Now one of you scumbags come one step closer. Okay, interesting. I think that's also false alarm. I feel like he's just like being a little crazy. Melvin Stanfield, Astrid E. Johnson's high school. Mr. Nash, I am very much in love with Laura. She's just the funniest person in the world, and I want to do something special when I propose. It won't be easy to surprise her, but I've thought this through. Laura works with children who do incredible things every day. Can you lend me a uniform and another cop to do the driving, along with a stun grenade? Okay, immediately we cannot do this. We don't have a stun grenade. You will wait until Laura is alone in her office, then we'll throw in the grenade for the big wow effect, and then burst in. Bam, bam, bam. You're accused of stealing my heart. As she comes to her senses, she'll see me in front of her on one knee, holding a ring. I spent all the money I had on the ring. You should see this. You should see this diamond. Okay, I can read, I swear. But I can offer you all I have left. A brand new VCR and a beer to put on top of it. You up for this? Driving under the influence in 2 seconds car wash. A man claims that a drunk driver is trying to park near the car wash. I'm 45 years behind the wheel, so I immediately notice when someone's driving drunk. I think this is also fake, so I'm not gonna send anybody. Bomb threat. The grandfather had dropped his wallet somewhere near the bus stop and was struggling to find it. He was deliberately keeping people back so they wouldn't interfere with his search. The only thing exploding was the man's patience. There was no explosion on the second floor of Sarah Avramov's house. It was just a window slamming and breaking because of the draft. Domestic disturbance at Jameson Hill. A woman is complaining of terrible noises coming from the neighbors. The bastard is beating Sarah again. I also feel like this is false alarm. What is up with all the false alarm today? Child abuse at the city center. A woman reports that her son's friend is afraid to go to his home because he gets badly beaten there. I also feel like that is a false alarm. It was just a novice driver who couldn't figure out how to park in a narrow space. He parked crooked, then gave up and just stood there on the sidewalk. Oh my gosh, I can speak. Homicide at the Germer funeral home. The funeral of the crime boss Giannis Kokinos ended in a thunder death. According to the funeral home owner, the newly deceased is named Tony. It seems that this young man, instead of saying a few polite words about the deceased, instead condemned the traditional ritual of the family, putting an offering in the coffin. The guy was quickly silenced. An elderly man shouted that Giannis was rolling in his coffin, snatched a gun, and shot Tony. Mayhem ensued, during which time it became clear that the valuable offering had disappeared from the coffin, and now the funeral guests were dispersed throughout the office in a mad search for him. Okay. Well, let's send you... Okay, not you. Let's send everybody that we can trust that's not tired. Okay. Horseman will not go. Yeah. I mean, let's try. Yeah, horseman will not go. Okay. Brady. He doesn't go in combat situations. Alright, cool. Luna then. Destruction of property at Mr. Roger Lennington's gas station. A homeless woman trying to keep warm climbed into the cab of a truck. However, the cab was just as cold as the street outside, so she took a gasoline can, doused the seats with fuel, and set them on fire. What? Okay, that sounds real. That sounds really real. You're tired. Oh, you won't go because it's late. And you don't go with people who aren't in full uniform. What if I send all these chuckleheads? Won't happen. Musica. Okay. Yeah, I think that crew should be good. Cops have arrived at the crime scene. Alright, let's proceed. Isabel Nicodemo, Tony's girlfriend. I know where Tony hid something valuable. And we also have Caleb Venus, gravedigger. I was going into the funeral home for my pay when I ran into a guy with a gun. There's Maria Goosens, clerk. I was just filling out some paperwork when some armed men broke into the office and started turning the whole place upside down. Okay, let's talk to Isabel Nicodemo, Tony's girlfriend. My Tony is a daring guy. He's so mad about the whole old-fashioned custom, burying the head of the family like he's some kind of pharaoh. The whole family chips in and casts a huge bar of gold that supposedly can prop open the doors of paradise if it suddenly starts to close in the corpse's face. My Tony always laughed at how silly he was, and when Giannis died, he was gonna steal the offering so we could have a life together. He was gonna sneak the ingot from the coffin so nobody noticed, and with the money we could get for it, we could leave Sharpwood forever. But something went wrong. Tony said that if he hadn't called me an hour after the funeral started, I should get out of town for a few days. He didn't call, and I snorted all the stuff we had just to keep my head clear, but it wasn't enough. If you can get me a little cocaine for the roll, I'll tell you where Tony probably hid the ingot. Alright. Yeah, Tony was planning on stealing the gold bar from the coffin and carrying it straight out. But it wouldn't be my Tony if he didn't think of all the options. If it was too dangerous to keep the bar with him, he was planning to pass it to Kenny. Why Kenny? Because he's scared as shit that Tony will tell the whole family that he saw Kenny and bald Arthur Purley sucking dicks in the toilet. I'm sure the ingot is at Kenny's, but he's a real coward, so if the cops turn it into a gunfight, he'll throw that ingot out in the snow and nobody will find it until spring. Alright. So we need to be quiet. Then Caleb Venus, the gravedigger, says that I have a sort of gentleman's agreement with the owner of the place. He gives me money and I always put the deceased at the right depth. So no wild beast dig them up. So he's happy and all the customers are happy and everything's good. And I'm happy too. I got a newborn son recently, so the extra money helps out. But there's some things you can't buy with money. A little piss and shit doesn't bother me too much, but my wife has to wrap the kid in rags because we can't get any fucking diapers around here. She's mad how bad it stinks, and in the end of the whole thing drives me crazy too. This has been going on almost 2 months, and I already want to lie down in one of my graves and cover myself with dirt. So if you can get some diapers, then I might survive long enough to tell you what's happening at the funeral home. Alright, we have a bunch of diapers. Let's go. The owner of the funeral home owed me money for 2 jobs I did last week. The owner said he'd bring me the money along with another undergrounder. That's what we call the corpses. Anyway, I got tired of waiting and decided to visit him myself. I was about to go in through the front door as always when I saw through the glass of some gloomy guy carrying a gun. Well, I knew it was better to leave this kind of guys alone and let them do their thing. Their type had come by a few times before, so I went to the garden there where I could wait until they were finished in there. I walked around the building almost to the back door when I came across another guy with a gun. Maybe he was patrolling. Anyway, he told me to get lost. I went back through the garden, and along the way I saw a couple other guys with guns. Who were they burying it that they needed that kind of protection? The Pope? Alright. So there's a ton of people there. Noted. And let's talk to Maria Goosens. When am I retiring? Is that what you're thinking? Yes, I still work every day. People die on weekends, you know. And it's a rare day in Sharpwood when only one person dies. So there's always plenty of work to do. People never stop dropping dead. But the owner is as tight-fisted as they come. Wouldn't even hire a cleaning lady. And you won't believe the mud these folks dragged in. But enough about the cleaning lady. That's nothing. We don't even have soap in the toilet. Can you believe it? I'll tell you one thing though. I'm tired of having to bring in my own soap from the house. So if you bring me a few packs of soap, I'll tell you all about those thugs who made such a fat fuss at the funeral parlor today. Got a bunch of laundry soap, sure. These thugs are from the great Greek criminal family named the Kokinos. I don't know how they ended up in our town. All I know is that they left their homeland either fleeing from the law or from some rival family. Anyway, the head of the family died and there was some kind of fuss at the wake. It seems like someone stole something right out of the coffin. The crazy things people do, right? They're obviously not from around here though. Nothing is sacred with those people. And in the end, instead of remembering the deceased, they run through the office looking inside every box Searched for something one of them stole, but they didn't find anything. Now, they're wandering around the office like they're lost. I don't even know what they think they're still doing. Alright, and now we have all of that. Okay, let us proceed.